What up YouTube, I'm back with another episode review of Boruto Naruto Next Generation. It was a great episode, one of the best episodes of the series so far, probably a top 5 episode, so it just shows how great this week's episode was. It was really a special episode because one of my criticisms for the Boruto series is that most of the great episode and great animated fights, for me, in my opinion, have involved the older characters like Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. For example, the Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki fight was a great episode, one of the best episodes of the series, but it involved mainly the older characters. Then there was the Sakura versus Shin Uchiha fight, at the beginning of the series. It was an amazing fight and an amazing episode, but it was mainly because of the older characters, so I really like this week's episode because it was mainly about the main characters of this series, which was one of the best things that could happen to this series, because it's about Boruto and his story. So I'm glad that we got this week's episode, and I'm glad that they're adapting the manga from now on. Anyway, the animation and especially the art style was something special for this week's episode. It reminded me a lot of some of the panels of the Boruto manga, and I don't read the manga, but from the panels that I've seen before, it reminded me a lot of the art style that we've seen in the manga, so I thought it was great. I really liked the character designs, especially Konohamaru, because I think in the manga he has more of a fro, and that's what we saw in this week's episode. So the art style for me was great. I really liked it a lot. Obviously the animation was something special, they've done that type of animation before, but I really liked it, man. It was great. I was waiting for something like that since this arc has started, and we got it for this week's episode. And I think that's the reason why we didn't get a preview in last week's episode, because they didn't want to show us how the animation was gonna be, because it was gonna be something really special. Now the first thing that I want to talk about is Kawaki's power, because it's something that we haven't seen before in the Naruto verse, in my opinion. But we already know that his power is called karma. He has the same mark on his hand that Boruto has on his, so it was really cool to see how his power kind of worked in this week's episode. It seems like he can create multiple type of weapons out of his body, which is amazing. At one point, Kawaki created a blade out of his arm, which was incredible, and later in the fight, we saw him create, kind of a rock-like substance that reminded me a little bit of how Jugo uses his curse mark, so I just thought that the way that Kawaki was using his karma power was really cool. It was really smart and everything. Even, later in the fight, we saw him kind of skate all over the field with some of the weapons that he created out of his body, so there's a lot of things that we don't know about the creation that he uses, but it was really cool. Obviously, Kawaki lost the first part of the fight against Garo because I think he was tired. We saw when Boruto and Team 7 first encountered him, he was unconscious, so I think it's because he was fighting all of these puppets, so he didn't have enough karma, energy, or power, so he was unconscious because of that. So it makes sense that he lost the fight against Gao, but then Kawaki awakened his karma power, with all these markings all over his body. And it was interesting because when he awakened his power, it seems like it was connected to Boruto, so Boruto also awakened his karma power. There was all these markings on his body, so it seems like Kawaki and Boruto are connected by their karma marks, which is really interesting, and I can't wait to know more about that, because even a little bit later, before he attacked Garo, Kawaki said that it ain't mine, so he's saying that the power that he got at the end of that fight wasn't his. So maybe he took some of the power from Boruto, and because they are connected, he can do that with the karma mark, so there's a lot of things that we don't know so far, but something that we know, I think, is that Kawaki and Boruto are connected by their karma mark. By the way, these karma markings on Boruto and Kawaki looked amazing. It reminded me a lot of the first scene of the Boruto series when Kawaki and Boruto were fighting each other on the stone faces of the leaf, so that was pretty cool. But we saw after that Kawaki was able to absorb attacks from Garo. It reminded me a lot of, Momoshiki when he was getting attacked by ninjutsu. We saw how he was able to absorb ninjutsu, and then the scientific ninja tools that Katasuki invented, he was able to absorb attacks from enemies, so it reminded me a lot of all these things. So it was really cool to see how Kawaki was able to absorb attacks. Then, in the smoke, I really like that shot right there, because it seems like there was energy in these markings, these karma markings. So it seems like while he was able to absorb, the attacks that Garo was attacking him with, he was able to kind of redirect that energy into his markings and using it against Garo, which was really cool, because that's one of the things that Momoshiki was able to do. It's something that the scientific ninja tools that Katasuki couldn't do, so I thought all of that was really cool. It seemed like the energy that Kawaki was absorbing from Garo was concentrating at one point of Boruto and Kawaki's hand. It looked really cool. Just the markings on their body, and then, the concentrating energy on their hands, looked really, really good. And it reacted at the same time, so it seems like I said, they're connected for some reason because of the karma mark, but I don't know how really, but it was really cool the way that, it was animated. I'm not sure how they did that in the manga, but in the anime it looked amazing, but the way that Kawaki just killed Garo was something kind of gruesome, that we haven't seen, I think, in the Boruto series yet. It seems like he just created all that mass, out of nowhere, and pierced Garo's body, which, like I said, was really gruesome, and then, something that Kashin Koji I thought was really, really interesting is that Kawaki was now in phase 3, which was interesting because Boruto was kind of doing the same things that Kawaki was doing. So does that mean that Boruto is also in phase 3, So it's really interesting. We don't know a lot about that power yet. We know that Kawaki was able to use different kind of power with the karma mark. We saw how he was creating weapons out of nothing. We saw how he was absorbing that power and then redirecting it with his own power. So I'm wondering what are the other 2 phases of this power, so that's going to be interesting to learn. So yeah, like I said, Kawaki was able to redirect all the power that he kind of absorbed to Garo, and then there was a huge explosion. We saw how there was only half of Garo's body left, which was, like I said, gruesome. We haven't seen that in the Boruto series yet, I think. And then we saw how Boruto was able to save Team 7 with his own karma mark by absorbing the explosion that was coming for them, so already Boruto is able to absorb attacks. We already saw that he can kind of use it, not at the same point that Kawaki can use it, but it seems like Boruto is kind of a genius, because one of the things that Kashin Koji said is that I think Boruto is special too, because he's already able to do all these things, so I really like that Kashin Koji said that, because Boruto, I don't think is supposed to be able to do that yet, because it seems like it took Kawaki a lot to just be in phase 3, so I really like the way that the story is going right now. I really like that shot of Kawaki, it looked amazing. I think, the animation and art, like I said, was amazing throughout the episode, but this shot right there of Kawaki I thought was just incredible. The animating crew did a great job for this week's episode. I think it was the best animated episode for me. Maybe it's because of the art, the art style for the episode I thought was really cool, because it was kind of like the manga, so I just think that they did a great job. But that shot of Kawaki I thought was something really cool. But one of the things that Kashin Koji said is that the 2 karma mark was resonating with each other, which like I said, is interesting. It seems like they're connected, so it seems like Kashin Koji obviously knows a lot more than we do, and that's why he's letting the Leaf Village keeping Kawaki, because he wants more intel, so he's letting the Leaf taking Kawaki into prison. I guess I don't know where they're going to take him, but it seems like that he's letting them take him so that he can get more intel from them, because they also have Boruto and his karma mark, so it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen later in this series, because it seems like it's only beginning to be great, and the things that we've seen for this week's episode, it seems like there's so much ways that it can go, and I just can't wait. Delta was okay with Cash and Koji's plan, which was surprising because she's been complaining about Cash and Koji to Jigen for a while, so I think she said that because Jigen said that something like that was going to happen, she let it go, but I was really surprised that she let something like that go, because the vessel is something that they've been working for, and now the Leaf has the vessel, so it's gonna be interesting to see how they get Kawaki back. Right now we know that the Kara organization and Cash and Koji just want more intel about what's gonna happen with this mark, I'm guessing, so maybe it's not gonna be for a while before they take back the vessel and Kawaki, I should say, but yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting. I really thought that we would maybe get a Kawaki versus Team 7 at the end of the episode or next week's episode, because Kawaki wasn't trusting them at all. He thought that they were part of the Kara organization because of Boruto and the way that he was using his karma mark, So I really thought that maybe we would get a fight between them, but it did not happen because he went unconscious, at the end of the episode. He overheated. That's what Katsuki said, because he basically said that Kawaki's entire body is a scientific ninja tools, but way more advanced than Ao and Garo, so that was really interesting. I'm not really sure how they did that, because Katsuki said that it's way more advanced than anything that he has seen, so I'm not really sure how this works. Maybe it's more organic than he thinks. He said that he was modified and everything like that, so nothing has happened to Boruto except him getting the mark from killing a god, so is it what Boruto is going to turn into? Is he going to turn into what Kawaki is right now? I'm just interested, because it seems like the way that Kawaki got that mark is different than the way that Boruto got it, so I'm really interested in what's coming next for this series and how this karma power works, because so far the things that we've seen from this power is that they can create weapons out of their body, they can absorb attacks and then take power from one another. We saw how Kawaki was, I think, able to take power from Boruto's karma mark, which is why Boruto was kind of hurting at some point. So yeah, man, there's a lot of things that we don't know. But yeah, man, Team 7 are taking back Kawaki to the Leaf, which is going to be really cool. I can't wait for that. But something that I really like for the end of the episode is that we got to see Naruto, with the animation style and art style for this week's episode. I thought he looked awesome. This is one of my favorite shot of the episode. It's really cool, his reflection through the mirror, the window and everything. It looked really cool. But yeah, man, great episode, one of the best episodes of the series so far. Let me know what you thought about this week's episode in the comments down below, and let me know what you think is gonna happen next. I do Boruto Naruto Next Generation reviews every Sunday morning, so subscribe for that. But I also do other anime related things like Attack on Titan the final season on Sundays, Black Clover reviews on Tuesdays. I usually do Jujutsu Kaisen on Fridays, but haven't done one in 3 weeks. And then I usually do One Piece reviews, but haven't done one in like 4 or 5 weeks, So stay tuned for all of that. Boku no Hero Academia is coming back this month, so stay tuned. But yeah, man, it's been great. It was one of the best episodes. Can't wait for what's coming next. Obviously, I don't think there's gonna be this much good animation in next week's episode, and the art style I think is gonna be different. But I really like this art style that we got this week. I already saw next week's episode preview and it's way different than what we got in this week's episode, you know, so I'm not gonna complain, but I would have loved for them to keep the manga art style that we got in this week's episode because I thought it looked really cool, man. But follow me at Anime Specialist on Twitter and Instagram, and like, comment, subscribe. It would help my channel a lot, man. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Anime Specialist out. Peace.